Okay, so we're going to take some very quick notes on speed, velocity, and acceleration comparison. This should be pretty easy after the activity that we did on Friday. So let's talk about speed first. We know that speed is a measure of how fast an object is traveling or how far an object is traveling in a certain amount of time. But speed does not give direction. It is simply just how far an object travels in that certain amount of time. To calculate speed, we know the formula for speed is distance divided by time. So therefore, those two variables are something that you're always going to have to calculate speed. So for example, if the girls are walking 12 meters in 4 seconds, their speed would be 3 meters per second. Other units of speed can include kilometers per hour, heartbeats per minute, like we talked in biomedical detectives, or miles per second, or even frames per second, like Brant suggested. Velocity is everything that speed is, just add the direction. So to calculate velocity, you would calculate it the exact same way that you would calculate speed, distance divided by time. You just add in that direction. So the difference is that velocity has what is called a vector. And that vector is represented by an arrow, just kind of like what we do when we do forces, and that does show the direction. So, for example, where you have this card that is speed 3 meters per second, where this one is 3 meters per second heading northeast, that direction takes that speed and turns it into velocity. And then we have acceleration. Acceleration shows whether an object is speeding up, slowing down, or changing direction. Pretty much all unbalanced forces. So if an object is accelerating, meaning even if it's going at constant speed, but it's changing that direction, the forces are unbalanced in some way or shape or form. So keep that in mind, tying in that unbalanced forces with that acceleration. So calculating acceleration is pretty much going to be velocity, remember, which is everything that speed is plus direction, divided by time. So today when we talked about the units, remember we said the velocity and speed is meters per second, but acceleration is actually meters per second or meters per second squared. So this is where that squared comes from because you already have time in velocity. It's like we have speed divided by time again. So those two units of time is where the square comes from. So anytime you see a unit where the time is squared, that is a unit of acceleration. We kind of talked about how most people tend to think that acceleration is just that speeding up, but it also is slowing down and the changing of direction. Okay, so you're done. The next thing I need you to do is you are going to create a Venn diagram. So go ahead and draw 3 big circles on a very own page next to your flip notes. And I want you to fill in these words: meters per second, distance, time, direction, meters per second, which is meters per second squared. So these are the only terms that I want you to fill in your Venn diagram. One circle will be speed, one will be velocity, and one will be acceleration. And I will check that tomorrow, first thing in class. Have a good night.